Good morning, good morning.
You are listening to the MixTape, your essential addition to the never-ending road trip that is parenthood.
Presented by The Parent Trip, produced and created by us, your hosts. I'm Sarah Fuller, your mermaid-haired lactation friend.
And I'm Olivia Spitzer, the loudest labor doula you've ever met.
And together we're here to talk all things growing and maintaining small humans.
Because parenting is a trip.
So buckle up, and here we go.
Hi, Olivia.
Hi, Sarah.
How's it going? Summertime? You didn't melt in the 116-degree heat?
I mean, I melted, but I reconstituted, so.
Oh, good.
Me, entirely new cells, new self.
Well, that would be kind of a cool thing if we could figure that out.
To melt and reconstitute?
Yeah, like there's probably some cool way you could probably be good for, I don't know. My sci-fi brain just went on a massive tangent and we don't need to go down that road.
It'd be good for your system.
Oh my God.
It's like a cleanse, except it's, a liquefaction. Anyway, hello everybody. Welcome to the MixTape. I'm Olivia Spitzer. I'm a doula.
I'm Sarah Fuller. I'm a lactation consultant.
And we're glad you're here. We're here to talk about all things parenting. This is a great time for me to actually shout out that if you've been watching these and you love these, all the content that we produce and all these episodes, but you're like, why aren't you talking about X?
Mm-hmm.
Put it in the comments. Let us know. We want to know what you want to hear about. We'll talk for days and we'll make it up and it'll be fine. But if you have something you're dying to hear us pontificate on, bring it.
Yeah. Or if you're like, I'm an expert on this one thing and it just gets my gears going and I would love to talk to Sarah and Olivia about it, hit us up. We are in for interviews. We haven't actually done one in a while.
Yeah.
Our last one was our Growing Our Families by Domestic Adoption. That was amazing. So if you're growing your family in a way that's not considered quote unquote typical, our goal is to make all types of family growing typical. It's all normal. So let's normalize it. Come get in here with us. Or if you're an expert in something parenting related, that also would be really fun.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
So I think when we talk about parenting tips, parenting ideas, I think that one of the really core things that people always want to talk about is what do we do with a fussy baby?
Oh my gosh. It's so hard, especially that first time parent and you feel like you broke your baby.
Yes.
It's a terrible feeling.
Yes, totally.
You didn't break your baby.
So Sarah and I are here with all of our tips on soothing babies. Sarah has 3 kids of her own, has been a lactation consultant for years. I was a nanny for a long time. I've been a doula for a long time. We've held, I don't know, definitely hundreds of infants between these 4 hands. Maybe in the thousands. Who knows?
Who knows? If it's not in thousands, I'm ready for it. Bring it on.
Yeah, we'll just take more.
Goodbye, COVID. Bring on the babies.
Yes, I would have that shirt. Goodbye, COVID. Bring on the babies.
I'll get on it.
So today we're just going to talk about some of our favorite techniques, the things that we like to do. And hopefully if you're watching this at home and it's 2 a.m. and you're bleary-eyed and just wanting your baby to be soothed, we can give you some help.
Yeah. But first, I think I would love to start with normalizing, babies cry, and there's a point in which maybe you need a doctor's help or you need some of these tips, but that's their only way of communicating. And so babies crying is not a broken thing.
And the other thing I want to tell you is Sarah's totally right about babies crying is not broken and your reaction to it is going to change. So look me in the eyes and understand you are going to learn to know this baby. This is your baby. And 2 weeks from now, a month from now, you're going to be able to know so much quicker, so much better what your baby is asking for. You're learning each other. You're brand new people, both of you. Yeah. So just remember, it's a learning process for both of you. You're going to figure it out.
My favorite analogy for that is learning to ballroom dance with a new partner. You're learning a new dance and you're learning within your own body, but you're also learning to do it with this other body who's learning it for the first time too.
Who's never done it either.
Yeah. It's like, it's this crazy thing that we expect to be really good at because it's natural. It's
Right.
not,
Right.
Not how it
It
works.
takes time. Everything takes time. I've talked about this in previous episodes, but I'll say it again. I always talk to my postpartum clients about kind of your measure of success and when you need to be looking at your data points.
Yeah.
Do not measure success day to day. Do not take these tips and be like, oh, I'm going to apply them. And if they don't work today, then they're garbage and I'm done and I need new ones. You're looking at success in 2-week chunks when you're postpartum. If you look Monday to Tuesday to Wednesday to Thursday, you're going to make yourself crazy.
Yeah.
2 weeks.
Yeah. And same with like any tracking. Like if you're tracking diapers or nursing or feeds or sleep patterns, like if that stuff gives you joy, like actual joy, or actually relieves anxiety, there's nothing wrong with it. There's definitely people like that. But my experience is that the majority of people tends to produce anxiety, not the other way. So it's like, I think one of the things I've heard you and some other people talking about, like with timing contractions, is like it's good to do it a little bit for a little while, get used to it, kind of understand your norm, but then like let it go for a little while and just like be in the moment.
Yeah.
Just like learn those, like a huge part of like feeding stuff with babies and fussiness is we often get so distracted by the world around us and our phones, to be honest, or like a movie, or I'm really tired and I'm just not focusing or whatever. But it's really easy to like miss the early feeding cues and baby's crying because they're hungry. And so if you're busy tracking stuff, if you're really busy focused on my house needs to be clean, I need to make, a whole week's meals, or like whatever the thing is that makes it so that you're not like just hanging out and tuning in.
Yeah.
Like that's what that early time with your baby is for, is to like just tune in and start to learn those little cues, because not every baby's going to be the same.
No, definitely not. Just the same way that your labor experience did not go the same as your best friends or your siblings or anything, right? Every body's different. Every baby's different.
Yeah. They have a body.
Yeah. So we're going to jump into these soothing techniques. And I just want to say out loud, for the benefit of Sarah and I think at the end of talking about our soothing tips, let's talk about when to call a professional.
Yeah, I like that.
Just because. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you want to go first? Do you want me to go?
No, throw one at me.
Okay. One of the things I love to talk about when I teach childbirth ed or when I'm working prenatally with a client is I'm like, the investment of a yoga ball is huge. And the reason why, you're like, Olivia, why are we talking about yoga balls? The reason why is because when you're pregnant, it's going to make you feel more comfortable sitting, bouncing. It'll help progress your labor, which is great if you're laboring at home. And once you're postpartum, that baby is going to love to bounce.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be way easier on your knees if you have a yoga ball to sit on. I've done the walking bouncing. It hurts your body. At some point, your lower back starts to hurt, your knees start to hurt. So being able to sit somewhere where you are supported and able to sustain that bounce is really going to soothe that baby. So if you have the funds, an investment in a yoga ball, they're like somewhere between 20 and 40 bucks. So like a big five, depends on how quality you buy it, is huge. The fit is a huge piece. So you should go knowing that you need to look at the boxes for height, size, right? If you have one that's too small and your knees are up by your ears, you are not going to be comfortable. And if you have one that's too big and you're on your tippy toes trying to keep yourself up, you're not going to feel ready to hold your baby in that position. And that's super fair. So my suggestion, invest in a yoga ball, check for the height, and use that to bounce that baby. If a yoga ball, if you don't have the space, don't have the funds, that's not accessible to you, what you want to do with that bounce is you can do that bounce just standing with your knees. You can do it with a deep kind of like lunge, going side to side. You can also do it, I'm a big fan of doing it while sitting and mimicking that bounce with my hands, giving my lower back a break, right?
I will say though, babies somehow magically know when you're standing up or not. And I know.
I don't know
how they do, but they just do. They know. No, you sat down. Even if,
this bounce is not enough for me anymore.
Adding to the yoga ball stuff, I will say I am 5'5", and I didn't know anything about like if you should have a different size yoga ball, and I bought like your generic one, and it was fine for me. So if you're like quote unquote average height and you just go out and buy the average yoga ball, it's probably okay, but it's good to know that there's different sizes.
Yeah, and I will tell you that I'm 5'8", and the average yoga ball is too small for me. So there you go, people.
You got some windows to work with. They also, my mom has this cool, her yoga ball came with like a little foam circle that goes underneath it so that it can't like roll around.
That's awesome.
So you don't have to worry about that. The thing that I would pair with the yoga ball for one of my suggestions is some way to baby wear. This was how I survived. Baby number one was the crier, the saddest of all my babies. And this is the way I survived was I used a fabric wrap the first like 3 months, and then the ergo after were the good choices for my body. There's so many choices out there. But that wearing baby and then sitting on the ball, you could like eat dinner with 2 hands and like bounce at the same time. Oh, saved me.
Magic. And this is, I think I want to say this, even though I know this is what Sarah is meaning, but I'm going to like outline it very clearly. Baby wear in your house.
Yes.
Baby wear in your house. Baby wear in your house. You don't have to be going to the farmer's market or to the grocery store or to a concert to baby wear. That's where we see images of people baby wearing, right? It's walking around Disneyland, baby wearing. Baby wear in your house. It's going to change your life to have your hands available. The other thing to know about baby wearing is that if you feel like you have to have both of your hands on your baby in order to walk around, that is not the right carrier for you, or you're not wearing it the right way.
Yeah.
And that's
how I felt about the sling. I tried so many different times with the ring slings because they seemed so easy to just like throw on and super compact, and they sounded great. It just didn't work for my body. I always felt really insecure. And I went down that Google rabbit hole trying to figure out how to do it right. And it just didn't work for my body.
Yeah. And sometimes you just got to accept, it's hard to make that investment, right? When you're like, oh my God, am I going to buy another one? But sometimes you just gotta. This is where I'm going to shout out. There is a local organization to Portland called Portland Baby Wearing. There's a Facebook group, and they also, when COVID isn't happening, have baby wearing, carrier try-ons at local libraries. Mm-hmm. Such a valuable organization, totally free. And all of the parents that are in this Facebook group are really there to help. So you can take a picture of you wearing your baby, being like, this doesn't feel right. Can someone give me pointers? And you'll get real-time information pretty quickly. So we're going to post that somewhere.
Absolutely.
It's a big resource.
You can also, so rather than like on your baby registry, rather than putting like 5 different things on there, hop on your Buy Nothing group or reach out on Facebook to your other parent friends. Chances are like they either have one to give you or they have one they're happy to let you borrow until you figure out which one works for your body.
And if you're working with a home midwife, a doula, a lactation consultant, anyone that you've established care with prenatally, ask them if they know where you can try some stuff on.
Yeah.
Because they're going to have resources for you. They might even have them in their own practice, right?
Yeah.
So.
Baby wearing is just the best because your baby just wants to be on you. Like you carried them here for such a long time. And then all of a sudden they're like, but now why am I on the floor? Like, or in a swing or like whatever the thing is. Or like, I just want to be near your heartbeat and your warmth and your breath. Like
your body is home for your baby.
Yeah.
And that's why they're comfortable. A lot of people will say, oh my gosh, they won't sleep unless I'm holding them. And that's part of it.
Yeah. And you can do that. You can still do dishes. You can do I know people who are this sucks, but I know people who are having to work from home now with babies. But you can do it like with baby wearing. It's not easy and they shouldn't have to do it. But but you can, like, it makes so much more possible. And I used to, like, as they got older, I would like baby wear them on my back and hike or garden. And it doesn't spoil them. This is like this myth that maybe that should have been in one of our in our episode about, that was a fun one, the Old Wives' Tales episode.
Yeah, if you can put the link in the comments.
Yeah, like you can't spoil these little babies. They need to be attached to you. That's part of the gig. And I can tell you, my kids don't ask for me to baby wear them anymore.
Yeah.
They're okay. They are off playing by themselves right this second, actually.
Right. Baby wearing is a really good one. One of the things that I think often like blows my clients' minds when I come over postpartum that I do for soothing is like side lying with the baby. So a lot of people do cradle hold, right? I've got the baby here in my arms. I've got actually, can I get up for a second? I'm going to get my baby.
Get your baby. Get your baby. I need one of these. I don't have one. I've got my kids' little dolls somewhere.
That was loud.
No.
Okay. Hi, everybody. I'm back with my educational baby. Okay. So I think people do a lot. Everybody knows to do this, right? Everybody is used to this kind of hold. Oh, I'm holding a baby. Maybe I'm patting their butt, rocking them like this. Everybody's used to one of these, right? I've got a baby here, patting them, trying to rock them like this, right? What I'm talking about when I say sideline, God, I'm so glad I have this baby here, is doing something like, sorry, the baby's hands are buttoned together. There we go. Doing something like this. Something like a sideline hold like this. It's not something they get often. Babies obviously can't sleep on their sides. They either sleep on their back or their belly, which they shouldn't be sleeping on their belly when they're this little in a bed. They can be sleeping on their belly here on you, right? But yeah, doing something sideline like this. I often have my arm between the two legs, or I put the two legs, if they're really itty bitty, up here on my arm by themselves. But I'm supporting their face so that I can tell that they're breathing, right? I can feel their little breath, that kind of thing. And just bouncing on the side, having just that change of position. I think you were the one who told me that your youngest really loved being upside down.
Yeah, loved it.
So you're gonna learn what your baby's favorite positions are. They like being upright and seeing the world. I've watched babies who really want to be able to see out like this.
Yeah.
So don't limit yourself to these two positions, right? Your baby will want to be moving around. And so just try different things out, see what they like. But yeah, I really do love the sideline.
I totally thought you were talking about nursing sideline.
No.
Which is also great. I mean, it's not particularly special for like cranky babies, but it's really, really great for when you're just really exhausted and they still want a nurse. Like, and you can just lay in your bed on your side. And, you know, everyone's bodies are different. And it's one of those positions that takes some work to figure out what works for you. But it can be so nice when you're just like, we did not sleep last night and you still want to eat. And I'm supposed to sit upright. I can't do it anymore.
Yeah.
Lay down on your side. Yeah, that's a good one. The facing out like that was great. Kind of the changing position idea is change of scenery. Like not just in your house. Like literally I would have nights where babies would be so sad and I couldn't seem to figure it out. Like, you know, they didn't want a nurse. They didn't want to burp. They had a clean diaper. They had all the things, right? And you just like, you're racking your brain and just literally stepping outside my door into the cool nighttime air. It was just done. It was like, there was something about, I don't know if it was the fresh air or the temperature change or literally just like, I'm sick and tired of my house. Get me out of here. I don't know what it was. I don't have any magic reasoning for it, but yeah. Change of scenery. Going for a walk also is good.
Yeah, totally. You get the movement, you get the mental space.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing is that, so I don't know how many of you guys know, I have a background in theater, and there's a theater exercise called Meisner exercise where you repeat the same thing back and forth between you and a theater partner, an acting partner, and it like builds emotion. I wasn't an actor. That wasn't my I was behind the scenes, but I know about this thing. And I often think that having a baby is an extended Meisner exercise because it's your feeling projected onto them, then they have it, they project it onto you, you project it onto them, and pretty soon you're both crying. And you're like, how did we get here? How did we get here? We're both so upset, right? So that's, I think, one of the reasons why going outside, like Sarah said, or going for a walk can be huge because you are changing the landscape in you, which is helping them change.
Totally.
Yeah. I gotta add shushing. This is like the classic. Everybody talks about shushing a baby. When we're talking about shushing, we're not saying say the word shush. We're talking about the sound that is replicating the inner workings of your body. So it's loud in utero. There's a lot of blood, things moving around, digestion, fluids rolling. So that's why people recommend white noise machines for babies. And also, if I'm holding a baby who's really inconsolable, sometimes I'll bring them to my shoulder, get right up in their ear, and do a lot of like shh, 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 shh. That's what I mean by, hi, my cat just looked at me. What are you doing? Loud shushing noise.
Yeah. And I think that's why babies like you hear people talk about the vacuum or the dryer, that kind of thing. Like that's why they like those noises. So funny tip for you on that note. Spotify has an album of vacuum sounds. Literally every track is a different kind of vacuum. So you can find the exact vacuum sound that your baby likes and loop it.
I kind of want to know how you got there.
This tip was brought to you by my third child having to ferry big sisters to and from school and hating the car 100% absolutely for an entire month.
So vacuum sounds helped?
Some days, not always. But that's how I discovered it, as I was trying everything. I tried like 4 different kinds of pacifiers. None of my kids took pacifiers. Wasn't an option for me. I tried. I was like crying. I was like, do you have a pacifier I can try? I need to borrow a pacifier just to see if it'll work. And vacuum sounds, there was, at the time, there was a new Lorde album out. Is it called Melodrama? Is that what that one? Terrible about that stuff. We listened to that album on loop. He loved that album.
Mm-hmm.
We got a mirror. We got, but he was like so little, like toys weren't a choice. He just hated the car for a month. And then he grew out of it. And now he's just fine. He fell asleep on the way home from the coast yesterday.
Okay.
Yeah. So vacuum noises on Spotify are just
great. And shushing.
There's also albums that have or like white noise machine apps that have like all the different kinds of like there's white noise, brown noise, pink noise. I don't know who names these things, but they're all just a little different. And who knows? Maybe that'll be the one that your baby likes.
Yeah, definitely. Let's see. Do you have another one?
I have a desperate 2 a.m. one.
Yeah.
For when your baby is not in a month-long hating the car phase. I definitely found myself wide awake. Like I was not sleepy. It felt safe, but I couldn't deal with the crying anymore. I just couldn't. Like my mental health was done with it. And so we got in the car at like 2, 3 in the morning, and I would turn on an audiobook and they would pass out. And I was lucky enough that my kids, like once they were asleep, I could park.
Yeah.
Some people I have heard have to keep their cars moving to keep their babies asleep.
Woof.
Yeah.
That's hard.
I think that might have been me, actually. Sorry, Mom and Dad. But like, and I, be cautious with that one. Like you have to be really self-aware about how tired you are and how good of a driver you're going to be. But like, I literally didn't, like, there was nothing wrong with my child. I knew that. Like, I did feel in tune, like they had fed, they had all the cleanness, all the everything, they were warm, all the stuff. And I just was like, I can't bounce one more minute. I can't shush one more minute. I can't do it. And so we got in the car and we drove and it worked. Baby went to sleep. I got a break. Yeah.
I don't know if we're done with soothing tips yet, but I want to jump in on that. Like, I felt like my mental health had it.
Yeah.
And this is the thing I want to say about that is that everything in your body is telling you, be right there with this baby, support this baby, soothe this baby, right? But at some point, like Sarah just said, there's nothing, that there's nothing wrong. They're fed, they're clean, they're safe, they're just crying. And at some point, maybe your heart can't take it and you don't feel safe to drive, or you can't leave because your partner has the car, or whatever it is, right?
Right.
I just want to empower you to put your baby in a safe place and walk away if you need to. Mm-hmm. It's not going to hurt your baby for you to have 10 minutes outside on your back deck, just taking some deep breaths, right? If they're inconsolable, if they're going to be crying in your arms or in the bassinet, like making sure that they are laid down, they're safe, they're not in a place where they're going to roll or hurt themselves, and taking a break for you is totally okay.
Yeah. And I will say this is something I feel like that you learn a lot as a second or third time parent. Mm-hmm. You're juggling multiple kids and you have to look at that tiny baby and go, I love you with all of my heart, but I know that you are fed and clean and all of the things. And you just want me, and that I love you, but also I have siblings of yours, and they need some care right now. Like maybe there's a toddler on the toilet with poop that needs wiping, or they're starving, or whatever it is that they can't do for themselves. You have to learn how to divide that. And so it feels really weird, I think, as a first-time parent, because you're like, well, what else am I like, this is my full-time job right now. this is what I'm supposed to do. But that your mental health is so important. It's also a really good time, like, call a friend. Like, if you don't feel like you can go outside and ground yourself, get help. Like, help is so huge. And if you don't have friends that you feel like could answer the phone or whatever, there's actually a lot of like really great free support groups. There's the and you don't have to have like full-blown postpartum depression to call and talk to them. They're there. I think they would probably prefer that you call before you get there, right, and get that support before you start to feel like constantly potentially sad. Or there's like La Leche League, and they focus mostly on breastfeeding, but I worked with a lot of those women, and I guarantee you, if you called them and you were just like, I just need someone who like knows what it's like, and it just like, they would be there for you.
Yeah. And I think, this is a good segue into when to call professionals, which we'll get into in a second. But I just want to underline, I think I've said it on this show before. When you hear about things that are like baby events, like book babies at the library or like a new mom support group or anything like that, those events are for parents to meet other parents. So if you're sitting here watching us crying, being like, no one else I know has a baby. I'm the first one of my friend group to have a baby. My family is on the other side of the country. My partner is working all the time. I have no one I can talk to about this. There are so many people in your city, in your town, who feel the same way. And it's just about meeting those new people who are in the exact same spot as you. And maybe you and Stacy down the street aren't going to be lifelong best friends, but if you're going to be friends who can talk to each other for 6 months while you're postpartum, that is gold.
Yeah. And I've seen people on like Nextdoor or Facebook groups or whatever being like, I have a baby that's this old. Who else like near me has a baby in this age range? I need community. So you don't even have to stay within the like, someone has created a group for me. There are people out there.
Yeah.
That need the same thing as you. Should we talk about when you should talk to a professional?
Yes. Do you want to start? In my mind, there are two things that make me think of as a doula when I'm in your house supporting you postpartum. There are two professionals I think about reaching out to, and the two symptoms that I kind of see that are related to that. The first is when I want you to call someone like Sarah, when I want you to call a lactation consultant. And that has to do with a baby who is inconsolable and constantly giving those hunger cues, right? I've actually had this happen in my practice before where I was at a postpartum appointment, I think more than once, where I texted Sarah and was like, I need you to, when are you available to see this family?
Yeah.
Because what I'm seeing as a professional, as not a first-time parent, is this baby is constantly exhibiting hunger cues, is coming to the breast, is being given the bottle, and is not getting satiated, right? So we talked about this, I think, before, signs that you can tell your baby is full, your baby gets sleepy, your baby does the starfish hands. Yeah. Just did them at the exact same time. You've got all these signs, and I wasn't seeing any of those from a baby who was being constantly offered the breast. So I was assuming there was something wrong, like maybe anatomy-wise or latch-wise, that I couldn't assess as a doula, and that you would need some professional help with. So that's kind of the first one that I think of, is if it seems like your baby is never satiated, if your baby is constantly hungry, that is a good time to get some help.
I will say on that note, my first one I said was like the most cryy. She was always in the 5th percentile or lower. And someone has to be in the 5th percentile. I'm not saying that's like a bad thing. That's how percentiles work.
Right.
But I do think in hindsight that I would have, that's how I ended up here on this path to being a lactation consultant, is I think that she would have benefited from more calories. And maybe that would have fixed all the crying. Maybe it only would have fixed this much crying. I don't know. Hindsight is not always 20/20.
Yeah.
But yeah, getting help from someone who can help you with feeding stuff. They can do weighted feeds. They can do an oral exam. Most babies have not had a full oral exam. Most, even those, like all babies born in hospitals don't get a full oral exam for the most part.
Yeah.
And some of them don't need it. But if your baby's having a hard time, it's warranted for sure.
Yeah.
Were you going to say pediatrician next?
I wasn't, so do that.
I love it. Yeah, so like you might see a lactation consultant and they might help with like food intake, but there are babies who are getting a lot of intake and still not gaining weight. That would be something for a pediatrician. If they're really, really colicky, sometimes a lactation consultant can help with like gas intake, but sometimes there can be an actual like heartburn kind of thing going on for babies, and that's what a pediatrician can help with. I mean, there's just all kinds of different little things that they can catch. So if you feel like your mama gut is telling you, like, my baby gets plenty of food, but they're really sad all the time, that would be a good time to see a pediatrician.
Yeah. The thing I was going to say goes back to that kind of reflective, how your health is affecting your baby's health. And sometimes babies who cry a lot, sometimes you just get a baby like Sarah's first who cries a lot. Sometimes that can be really hard for you as a parent. And the warning signs that I see that I'm looking for when I visit people is, are you sleeping at all? I know it's hard to say, are you sleeping when you have a newborn, but are you able to sleep at all? If your baby is sleeping, your partner is sleeping, and you're lying there awake, staring at the ceiling, that makes me concerned and thinking that maybe we need some help. If your anxiety is through the roof, if you are thinking about possibly doing something drastic for yourself or your baby, these are all warning signs to reach out and get help. And when I mean help, it really can look different for every single person. Sometimes that means calling your sibling and being like, get on a plane right now. I need you here tonight. Sometimes it means calling your doula and getting a postpartum referral for a postpartum doula, and just knowing you're going to have a professional in your house every other day there to help you do the dishes and just listen to you talk. Sometimes it means calling your therapist or your doctor. So those are kind of the situations where soothing a baby has gotten to the point where it's affecting your mental health, which is, there's no shame about it at all. Mm-mm. But recognizing those signs in yourself are big.
Yeah. I mean, I would just like to say, like, we're meant to live in a village. We're meant to live with someone next door that you can hand the baby off to. This is not how biologically we evolved. And yeah. So it makes sense that you would be in this little box by yourself with your baby and you would go a little crazy from your baby crying. It just makes sense to me. And I will say, from a lactation standpoint, there is a lot of mental health medication that can be safely taken while nursing.
Thank you.
So do not hesitate to talk to a doctor and say, like, I can't do this like this, and I don't want to give up nursing, or I just want to be a good parent, like whatever that looks like. Like, maybe you're fine, maybe you're bottle feeding. Taking a medication does not make you less of a good parent or less of a good human. Please take care of your mental health.
Yes. And the thing that I'll say is that we do a really good job when we're pregnant of recognizing the symbiosis between us and our babies, because they are literally inside our bodies. So we're like, oh, I eat well, I sleep well, I take care of myself. That's good for my baby. That is still true when they are outside your body. Yeah. So anything you need to take care of you is good for your baby.
Yeah. I would love to shout out us as the Parent Trip as a resource. Because we have like this amazing network of providers, and some of them are in mental health. Some of them are naturopaths. Some of them are acupuncturists. That is where I get my only good naps, y'all, during acupuncture. Like, we have this huge range of folks that can be here to support you, and whatever it is that's stressing your brain out, we probably have somebody for you. They're all listed on our website. We have events 3 times a year. We interact with them all the time offline. So if you need support and you're like, I need to talk to someone who knows a lot of people because I don't know what I need, hit us up.
Yeah, that's totally what we're here for. You can find us obviously here on YouTube, or if you're listening to this as a podcast, you can reach out to us on Facebook, Instagram. Our website is theparenttrippdx.com. Sarah and I, we care about this a lot, and we want to make sure that you feel like you have that village.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. Like a good ending point there. Sarah, do you have anything else you want to say?
I would love to hear your favorite tips and tricks for soothing babies. Like, if there is something I don't know about, I want to know.
Mm-hmm. And if there's that one thing that works with your one baby, I'm sure it'll work with one other baby out there. So you're like, this one's super weird, but
that just piqued a thing for me. All your babies are different babies. So, like, my one baby loved the vacuums, right? But the next baby, it may not work. And that's also normal. That doesn't make one baby broken. It just means, just like I like coffee and Olivia likes tea, they just like different things. And that's okay.
And it doesn't mean you've forgotten how to be the mom of or the parent of a small baby. That doesn't mean that at all. It just means they're a different human.
Yeah.
Different human.
All the cute little humans.
Yeah.
With different personalities that drive you crazy in different ways, but also are just like the most lovable in different ways.
I mean, I feel like I often talk to people about the fact that, like, your baby has a personality when the minute they reach this world. They just are their own human, and they do their own thing.
Yeah.
They do their own stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like we end a lot of these episodes on this note, but I don't think it gets old, so I'll just say it again, which is that if this is your first time watching the mixtape and you came here out of desperation looking to soothe your baby, you're doing great. It's so hard. And it can be really hard to hear that, but just know that, like, we've been there with a lot of parents. We've been there in our personal lives in various different ways. You're not alone, and you're doing the best you can. And that is the best, period. The best you can is the best.
You are good enough. You are just the right amount of good for your baby.
Yep.
Okay, you got this. Okay, have a good day, everybody.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're up to,
We hope so.
and you want to hang out with us more,
We like you too.
wherever you're watching,
Or listening.
you should be sure to subscribe so you'll get notified when we post something new.
Be the person in the know.
You can also follow us on Facebook and Instagram at The Parent Trip PDF.
Virtual connection is just so in these days.
And if you really like us,
I mean, why wouldn't you?
Olivia,
Okay.
you can support us through our Patreon. We do resource fairs, informational panels, and our conversation series all for free, so anyone can access it.
That is actually super important to us.
So by joining our Patreon, you make more content possible.
And make our hearts very glad. Thanks.
Thanks!